Stealth systems failing. The ship's AI announced with inappropriate calm. Probability of detection, 97% and rising. Ambassador Catherine Miller's hands danced across the neural interface, redirecting power from life support to the stealth matrix. The prototype shuttle shuddered as another gravitational wave from Nexus Prime's defense grid tried to tear it apart. Through the view screen, the planet's crystalline spires pierced the violet clouds like ancient spears reaching for the stars. Time to vote, Kate demanded, her neural implant throbbing against her temple. 4 minutes, 37 seconds until the Council's verdict becomes irreversible. Kate swore under her breath as she pushed the shuttle into a steeper descent. The ship wasn't meant for this kind of atmospheric entry. Nothing was. Nexus Prime's defense grid had been designed by paranoid species who'd had millennia to perfect their planetary shields. No unauthorized vessel had breached them in over 10,000 years. First time for everything, Kate muttered, keying in the override sequence she'd spent months stealing piece by piece from various diplomatic databases. The codes were ancient, preserved in obscure protocols that even the Council had forgotten. But humanity had always been good at finding patterns others missed. A warning klaxon screamed as 3 defense platforms locked onto her ship. Kate felt sweat trickle down her spine, despite the cabin's cooling systems. The fate of Earth hung on her next few moves. The message that had triggered this desperate mission still blazed in her neural feed. Emergency alert. Council votes on Resolution 359. Terminal sanctions against Earth authorized. All human colonies face immediate evacuation. Non-compliance will result in species-wide quarantine. She'd been at dinner when it came through, celebrating her first year as humanity's ambassador to the Galactic Council. The extinction-level sanctions had come without warning, without debate, without even the pretense of due process. 7 minutes later, she'd stolen the prototype shuttle from the embassy's secure hangar. Multiple intercept vectors detected, the AI warned. Defensive platforms charging primary weapons. Kate's fingers flew across the interface. Deploy countermeasures, pattern Delta 7. The shuttle released a cloud of quantum chaff, each particle programmed to mimic her ship's signature. The defense platforms hesitated, their targeting systems confused by the sudden appearance of 300 identical vessels. Kate drove her ship straight down through the chaos, riding the gravity well like a surfer catching a wave. The neural interface fed sensor data directly into her brain, letting her process information faster than any human could naturally. It was another advantage the Council didn't know about. They thought neural interfaces were centuries beyond humanity's capability. 3 minutes to vote. The shuttle burst through the clouded layer, crystalline towers rising around her like frozen lightning. Warning signals flooded her neural feed as automated custom systems detected her presence. She ignored them all, pushing the shuttle into a series of evasive maneuvers that no organic pilot could survive without neural assistance. Ambassador Miller, a stern voice cut through her comm systems. You are in violation of 17 different protocols. Stand down immediately. Kate recognized the voice. Senior Administrator Vex of the Council's Security Division. The same person who had fast-tracked the sanctions against Earth. Funny thing about protocols, Kate replied, diving between 2 towers so close that her shuttle's wings nearly scraped their surfaces. They're only meaningful if everyone follows them. 2 minutes. The Council spire appeared ahead, a towering needle of impossible geometry that housed the combined diplomatic power of 247 spacefaring species. Its surface rippled with defensive energy fields strong enough to repel a small fleet. Kate smiled. They'd designed those defenses to stop warships, not small craft. And certainly not small craft piloted by humans with neural interfaces and a complete disregard for self-preservation. Final warning, Ambassador, Vex growled. The Council chambers are sacrosanct. 1 minute. Kate bypassed her ship's safety protocols and diverted all power to the engines. The shuttle screamed toward the Council spire, straight at a ceremonial window that had remained untouched for 50,000 years. You know what humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy is, Administrator? Kate asked as she braced for impact. We notice things, like how your precious protocols always leave room for an emergency exception. The shuttle crashed through the ancient window in a shower of crystalline shards, its quantum-hardened hull barely holding together. As emergency containment fields snapped into place behind her, Kate saw hundreds of alien faces turn toward her in shock. Now then, she said, stepping out of the smoking shuttle. I believe we need to talk about these sanctions. The council chamber's perfect acoustics carried the sound of falling crystal shards across the vast hall. Kate's boots crunched on the fragments of the ancient window as she strode forward, her neural implant cataloging the reactions of every species present. The Voltaxians' ceremonial armor clicked and whirred as they rose from their seats, iridescent plates shifting to display threat patterns. Behind them, the usually stoic Arthaxians pulsed with rapid colors, blues and greens that her diplomatic training identified as stress indicators. Ambassador Miller, High Speaker Xolm's voice rolled through the chamber like distant thunder. You dare violate the sanctity of these chambers. The massive Voltaxian's primary eyes fixed on Kate while his secondary set tracked the security drones converging on her position. Kate kept walking, her neural implant feeding her real-time analyses of the chamber's power dynamics. Interesting choice of words, High Speaker. Sanctity implies these chambers hold something sacred. Like truth, perhaps. The security drones froze in midair, their programming conflicting with ancient protocols that prevented violence in the chamber. Kate had counted on that. The Council's love of rules would work in her favor. The vote on Resolution 359X was properly submitted, Administrator Vex announced from his position in the Security Division's box. The evidence against Earth is overwhelming. Evidence we've never seen, Kate countered, reaching the center of the chamber. The ceremonial speaking circle lit up beneath her feet, recognizing her right as Earth's ambassador to address the Council. Evidence submitted without warning, reviewed without debate, and voted upon without Earth's representative present. A ripple of murmurs swept through the gathered species. The Arthaxians' bioluminescence shifted to deep purple, a color Kate had never seen them display before. Her implant flagged it for further analysis. The emergency protocols. Vex began. Emergency protocols require immediate action only in cases of imminent threat. Kate cut him off. Show me the threat, Administrator. Show all of us. High Speaker Xolm's ceremonial armor clattered as he stepped down from the elevated speaking platform. Standing at his full height, he towered over Kate, his forearms spread wide in a gesture that managed to be both welcoming and threatening. Perhaps, Ambassador, you mistake the purpose of this session, he said smoothly. We are not here to debate. We are here to protect the galaxy from humanity's unchecked ambitions. Kate's neural implant highlighted subtle changes in the chamber's energy fields. Someone was trying to activate the truth resonance protocols, ancient technology that prevented lies from being spoken in official sessions, but they were doing it slowly, hoping she wouldn't notice. Unchecked ambitions, Kate laughed, the sound echoing off the crystal walls, like establishing colonies in restricted space, or perhaps manipulating trade routes to disadvantage younger species. The Arthaxians' color shifted again, now pulsing with rapid bursts of violet and indigo. Kate's implant correlated the pattern with their species' historical records. It was an autonomic response indicating recognition. They knew something. You make accusations without proof, Vex snarled. Do I? Kate reached into her jacket and withdrew a small holographic projector. The security drones twitched, their weapons charging before the chamber's peacekeeping protocols forced them to stand down. The High Speaker's secondary eyes narrowed. That device is not authorized. Article 7, Subsection 3 of the Council's founding charter, Kate recited. All species have the right to present evidence in their defense using technologies of their choosing. She smiled. You really should have spent more time studying human history, High Speaker. We're very good at memorizing rules when our survival depends on it. She activated the projector, A three-dimensional star map materialized in the air, showing trading routes and colony positions across the galaxy. But these weren't the official maps. These showed the truth, the secret installations, the hidden fleets, the real movements of resources and power. "Now," Kate said as shocked gasps filled the chamber, "shall we discuss the actual evidence? Or would you prefer to maintain this dance of deception until I'm forced to ask why the Arthaxians recognize patterns they shouldn't know exist?" The chamber erupted into chaos as species began shouting over each other. But Kate noticed something crucial. The Voltaxians' threat displays had shifted to warning patterns. They were scared. Her neural implant pinged. The truth resonance fields were now fully active. The real game was about to begin. The message flashed across Kate's neural feed without warning. They fear what humanity knows. The text pulsed with an alien signature she'd never encountered before, bypassing her implant security protocols as if they didn't exist. She maintained her outward composure as the council chamber descended into carefully orchestrated chaos. The Voltaxians were performing their ritual of outrage, their armor plates creating a harmonious clanking that almost, but not quite, drowned out the whispered conversations happening in the upper galleries. Ambassador Miller, High Speaker Xoln's voice cut through the din. "Your unauthorized display of classified information leaves us no choice but to." Another message blazed through her neural feed. "The patterns. Look for the patterns." Kate's eyes darted to the Arthaxians, their crystalline bodies now cycling through colors so rapidly that several other species had to look away. She focused her implant's analysis protocols on their display, and suddenly the chaos in the chamber took on new meaning. "High Speaker," she interrupted, stepping forward in the ceremonial circle. "Before you finish that sentence, I suggest you consider Article 12 of the ancient protocols." The chamber fell silent. Even the Voltaxians' armor stopped its rhythmic movement. Article 12. Administrator Vex scoffed. "That deals with ritual condemnation ceremonies. This is a security matter." "Is it?" Kate's fingers danced through the holographic display, highlighting specific trade routes. "Because from where I stand, this looks exactly like the ritual of collective condemnation. The same ceremony used against the Proxians 3,000 years ago. And the Myssarians before them. And the Zol Collective before that." Her neural implant buzzed with another message. "Deeper. Go deeper." The High Speaker's secondary eyes narrowed to slits. "You dare suggest?" "I suggest nothing," Kate said, expanding the holographic display. "I merely observe that every species who made significant technological leaps in the past 10,000 years faced identical accusations: unauthorized expansion, violation of trade agreements, threats to galactic stability." She zoomed in on a particular sector, where a dozen worlds glowed with energy signatures that shouldn't exist. But here's what's fascinating. Those accused species either disappeared entirely or suddenly became very, very cooperative with the Council's older members. The Arthaxians' color cycle suddenly locked into a single, brilliant shade of violet. The same color they'd displayed earlier, the one her implant had flagged as unprecedented. "Your accusations are baseless," Vex snarled, but Kate's implant detected the subtle shift in his subharmonics. "Fear." New text scrolled across her vision. "The Arthaxians remember. They were supposed to forget, but they remember." Kate turned to face the crystalline beings directly. The Arthaxians developed quantum communication 3 centuries ago. They were accused of similar violations, but something went wrong with the ritual, didn't it? The chamber's truth resonance fields hummed as the Arthaxian prime representative rose from their seat. Their crystalline form vibrated at a frequency that made Kate's teeth ache. "We remember the songs," the prime representative said in their musical language. "The songs that should not be." High Speaker Xoln took an aggressive step forward, but Kate raised her hand, letting the chamber's ceremonial protocols freeze him in place. "What songs?" she asked. "The victory songs," the prime representative chimed. "When the first ones fell. When the council rose. when the truth was buried beneath ritual and law. The holographic display flickered as Kate's implant processed another message. Now you understand. Humanity isn't the target. Knowledge is the target. It always has been. Kate's mind raced, connecting pieces of a puzzle spanning millennia. The ritual of collective condemnation wasn't just a diplomatic tool. It was a weapon, a way to identify and eliminate species that came too close to discovering something the Council wanted to keep hidden. The emergency protocols, she said slowly, watching the High Speaker's reaction. They're not about protecting the galaxy from threats. They're about protecting a secret so important that you've spent 10,000 years systematically destroying any species that might uncover it. The chamber's truth resonance fields pulsed bright blue, the color of absolute truth. Ambassador, High Speaker Xoln said quietly, his armor shifting to combat patterns, you have no idea what you're about to unleash. A final message burned across Kate's neural feed. Show them what humanity found in the deep void. Show them why they're right to fear us. Kate smiled, her hand moving to the second holographic projector hidden in her jacket. Actually, High Speaker, I believe I do. Kate's second holographic projector hummed to life, but instead of activating it immediately, she turned to address the full chamber. Before I show you what humanity found, I request permission to demonstrate a unique human diplomatic tradition. The High Speaker's armor plates shifted in what her neural implant identified as confusion. You stand accused of violations that warrant extinction-level sanctions, and you wish to waste our time with human customs. Article 3, Subsection 7, Kate replied smoothly. All species have the right to present their defense in accordance with their cultural practices. She allowed herself a small smile. Unless, of course, the Council wishes to violate its own most sacred protocols. The chamber's truth resonance fields rippled with expectation. In the upper galleries, representatives from younger species leaned forward, their curiosity overwhelming their diplomatic restraint. Very well, High Speaker Xoln rumbled, his secondary eyes blinking in sequence. But be swift. Our patience grows thin. Kate's neural implant pinged a warning. Someone was attempting to access its security protocols. But instead of blocking the intrusion, she recognized the alien signature from the earlier messages. She let them in. New text scrolled across her vision. The quantum core beneath the chamber. Access granted. Use it. She hadn't known there was a quantum core beneath the chamber, but she didn't let her surprise show. Instead, she began what appeared to be a formal diplomatic gesture, her hands moving in precise patterns that her neural implant synchronized with the hidden core's frequencies. In human diplomatic tradition, Kate announced, her movements becoming more elaborate, we begin any significant revelation with a demonstration of good faith. Her fingers traced complex patterns in the air, each motion sending coded instructions to the quantum core through her implant. The Voltaxians shifted uncomfortably, their armor unable to fully suppress their agitation. The Arthaxians' crystalline forms vibrated at frequencies that created subtle harmonies with the chamber's truth resonance fields. In ancient times, Kate continued, her hands never stopping their dance, human diplomats would demonstrate their honesty by participating in ceremonies of mutual disclosure. Each party would share a truth, building trust through vulnerability. Administrator Vex stood abruptly. High Speaker, this is clearly a delaying tactic. The Council recognized her right to this demonstration. The Arthaxian Prime Representative chimed, their crystalline form pulsing with determination. Let her finish. Kate's neural implant confirmed that her coded movements had successfully interfaced with the quantum core. The truth resonance fields were now under her partial control, though she suspected only she and her mysterious ally knew this. For my truth, she said, reaching for the second projector, I offer you this. The device activated, projecting a three-dimensional image of deep space. At first, it seemed to show nothing but void. But then the scale became clear. They were looking at something massive, hidden between the stars. Impossible, the High Speaker whispered, all four of his eyes fixed on the projection. 3 months ago, Kate said, "A human deep space survey ship detected this structure. It's over 1 million years old, and it bears the markings of a civilization that, according to council records, never existed." The chamber erupted in shouts and demands, but Kate raised her voice above them. But that's not the most interesting part. The most interesting part is this. She manipulated the projection, zooming in on a specific section of the structure. Symbols became visible, flowing across its surface in patterns that made several council members recoil in recognition. Those markings, she continued, watching the high speaker carefully, match fragments found in the oldest sections of this very chamber. The sections you sealed off 10,000 years ago, claiming they were damaged in an accident. Her neural implant flashed another message. Now, use the core. Kate's fingers completed their final pattern, and the quantum core responded. The chamber's truth resonance fields shifted frequency, extending their influence into areas that had been carefully shielded for millennia. Ancient secrets, buried under layers of technological protection, began to surface. "So," Kate said, watching as panic spread through the council's eldest members, "shall we discuss what really happened 10,000 years ago? Or would you prefer I continue with my cultural demonstration?" The high speaker's armor locked into combat configuration, but they all knew he couldn't act. The chamber's peacekeeping protocols were absolute, and Kate had just turned the council's own rules into the perfect trap. The chamber's truth resonance fields pulsed with unveiled secrets, each revelation sending ripples of energy through the crystalline walls. The Arthaxians had begun a low, harmonic hum that seemed to resonate with the quantum core itself, their bodies refracting light in impossible patterns. Kate's neural implant projected a countdown in her peripheral vision. 15 seconds until the quantum core reached full synchronization with the truth fields. She needed to time this perfectly. What humanity found in the void wasn't just a structure, she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. It was a message, one that some of you have spent 10,000 years trying to erase. High Speaker Xoln's armor creaked as he stepped forward, all 4 arms raised in a gesture of authority. "These accusations are curious, isn't it?" Kate interrupted, her fingers dancing through the holographic display. "How desperately you try to silence this discussion. How eagerly you seek to bury these questions." She paused, letting her words hang in the air. "One might say you protest too much." The chamber's energy fields flickered as the quantum core registered the phrase. Kate's mysterious ally had told her the words would matter, but even she wasn't prepared for what happened next. "The lady doth protest too much, methinks," she quoted fully, letting Shakespeare's words echo through the chamber. The universal translators worked overtime, converting the phrase into hundreds of alien languages simultaneously. But they weren't just translating words. They were translating a fundamental truth about power and deception that transcended species. The effect was immediate. The truth resonance fields exploded with activation, their energy multiplied by the quantum core's synchronization. Hidden records burst into visibility above the council members' heads. Secret meetings, forbidden technologies, buried civilizations. "Interesting," Kate continued, walking slowly around the speaking circle. "How a simple human observation about the nature of guilt and denial can unlock so much truth. When someone protests too strongly, too eagerly against an accusation," she gestured at the damning evidence floating above them, "they often reveal their own guilt." The Arthaxians' crystalline forms blazed with light as ancient memories, suppressed for millennia, resurfaced. Their prime representative rose, their voice chiming with restored knowledge. "We remember now. We were not the first to be silenced. We were merely the last to retain a fragment of the truth." Kate's neural implant flashed with another message. "Show them the final proof." She manipulated the holographic controls one last time, and a new image filled the chamber. A star map spanning 50,000 years. It showed the systematic suppression of emerging civilizations, the careful manipulation of technological development, and the ruthless elimination of any species that came too close to the truth. "Every species that stands accused today," Kate declared, Every civilization you've tried to condemn made the same discovery we did. They found evidence that the Council's founding members aren't the natural leaders of this galaxy. They're its jailers. The younger species representatives burst into shocked discussions as the High Speaker's armor shifted to its most aggressive configuration yet. But Kate wasn't finished. Shakespeare wrote those words over 500 years ago, but their truth is universal. When someone works this hard to hide something, to protest against its very suggestion, she looked directly at the Council's founding members. They reveal their own guilt through their desperate attempts to conceal it. The truth resonance fields had reached their peak, forcing hidden facts into the light. The quantum core hummed beneath them, amplifying every revelation. Centuries of carefully maintained lies began to crumble. "So," Kate said, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's gift for naming unspoken truths, "shall we discuss what you're really protesting against? Or shall we continue this dance of denial until every species in this chamber sees exactly what you've been hiding?" The High Speaker's secondary eyes closed in defeat as the chamber erupted into chaos. The truth, once named, could never be buried again. A simple human phrase had just shattered 10,000 years of careful control. The Council chamber descended into beautiful chaos. Species that had been enemies for millennia suddenly found common ground in their shared manipulation. The Voltaxians' ceremonial armor rang with discordant tones as their carefully maintained facade of authority crumbled. "Shut down the quantum core," Administrator Vex commanded, his voice cracking with desperation. "Override code sequence." "I wouldn't," Kate interrupted, her neural implant pulsing with another message from her mysterious ally. "The failsafes aren't what you think they are. They haven't been for centuries." The Arthaxian Prime representative's crystalline form blazed with restored memories. The codes were changed. Every cycle, every rotation, while you thought us sleeping. We remembered in fragments, in crystal dreams. High Speaker Xoln's secondary eyes darted between exits as younger species began advancing toward the Council's inner circle. His armor shifted through combat patterns so quickly it seemed to blur. "You don't understand what you're destroying," he growled. "The peace we maintained." "Peace." A new voice cut through the chaos. The Mycerian ambassador, whose species had been condemned 3,000 years ago, rose from her seat. "You call this peace?" Her tentacles rippled with bioluminescent anger. "Our colonies were quarantined. Our technology was stripped. Our history was rewritten." Kate's holographic display shifted, showing the systematic suppression of species after species. Each revelation sparked new outrage, new understanding. The truth resonance fields hummed with centuries of exposed lies. "Your greatest mistake," Kate said, walking toward the High Speaker, "wasn't trying to hide the truth. It was assuming that humanity's gift for pattern recognition would work in your favor." Her neural implant flashed. "The quantum core is fully synchronized. Show them everything." Kate's fingers danced through the holographic controls one final time. The chamber's crystalline walls became transparent, revealing the true structure beyond. A vast machine, ancient beyond comprehension, its purpose hidden beneath layers of architectural camouflage. "The Council chamber isn't just a seat of power," she announced. "It's a control center. The question is, control of what?" The Arthaxians began to sing, their crystalline bodies resonating with frequencies that made the ancient machine's patterns pulse with recognition. Other species joined in, sounds and harmonies that should have been meaningless coming together in impossible synchronization. "Stop this immediately," High Speaker Xoln commanded, but his voice held no authority now. His own armor was responding to the harmonics, ancient programming overriding modern controls. Kate smiled as her neural implant confirmed what she'd suspected. "You didn't build this chamber. You found it. Just like humanity found that structure in deep space, and like every species you've condemned, we recognize what it truly was." The younger species representatives had formed a circle around the Council's inner members. The Mycerians' bioluminescence synchronized with the Arthaxians' crystal song. Patterns of energy danced through the chamber, older than any civilization present. Humanity's greatest strength, Kate continued, watching as the high speaker's armor locked into its final configuration, isn't our technology. It's our ability to see through deception, to recognize when someone's protests reveal their guilt, to name the truths others try to hide. Her mysterious ally sent one last message. The activation sequence is ready. The choice is yours. Kate faced the gathered species, her voice carrying over the harmonious chaos. The Council didn't protect galactic civilization. They prevented it from reaching its true potential. They found this chamber, this machine, and instead of sharing its wonders, they used it to maintain control. She raised her hand, interfaces appearing around her fingers as the quantum core responded to her commands. Now we have a choice. We can tear everything down in revenge for millennia of lies. She paused, letting the possibility of violence hang in the air. Or we can do what humanity does best. Learn from the past, adapt to the present, and build a better future. The chamber held its breath, waiting to see which path she would choose. Kate's neural implant surged with power as the quantum core recognized her authority. The ancient machine beneath the chamber hummed to life, responding to commands that hadn't been issued in millennia. Around her, the harmonious chaos of rebellion merged with the machine's awakening frequencies. "Before we decide," she announced, her voice cutting through the din, "there's something you all need to see." Her fingers traced patterns in the air, each gesture unlocking another layer of the chamber's secrets. The crystalline walls dissolved completely, revealing the true scale of the ancient mechanism that surrounded them. High Speaker Xolm's armor had frozen him in place, but his secondary eyes widened in genuine fear. "You can't possibly understand what you're accessing." "The dangers." "The only danger," Kate interrupted, "was in hiding this knowledge." The holographic displays shifted, showing not just the chamber structure, but its purpose. "This isn't a weapon, is it? It's a library. A repository of knowledge from civilizations far older than any of us." The Arthaxians' crystal song changed pitch, resonating with previously dormant sections of the machine. Their prime representative's voice chimed with revelation. The songs we remembered. They were data patterns, star maps, historical records. "Exactly," Kate said, walking through the three-dimensional display of galaxy-spanning information. The Council didn't just find this chamber. They found proof that advanced civilizations had existed before them. Civilizations that chose to share their knowledge freely. Her neural implant flashed another message. "Show them the final truth." Kate's hands danced through the holographic controls, and new information cascaded through the chamber. The structure humanity found in deep space. It's not just similar to this chamber. It's part of a network. A galaxy-wide network of knowledge sharing and cooperation. The younger species representatives moved closer, their anger giving way to wonder as they saw the true legacy they'd been denied. The Mycerians' bioluminescence pulsed in patterns that matched ancient data streams. "Your control wasn't just about power," Kate said, facing the Council's founding members. "It was about fear. Fear that if other species accessed this knowledge, they'd surpass you. Fear that the truth about your own civilization's origins would be revealed." Administrator Vex snarled, "You have no idea the chaos unlimited knowledge can cause. The wars it can spark." "Wars?" Kate laughed, the sound echoing through the chamber. "Like the wars you engineered to keep species fighting each other instead of looking too closely at your authority. The conflicts you sparked to justify emergency protocols and sanctions." The quantum core's display showed centuries of manufactured conflicts, carefully orchestrated to maintain the Council's power. Each revelation sparked new understanding among the gathered species. Kate raised her hand, and the ancient machine responded. Knowledge began flowing freely, unrestricted by the barriers the Council had placed. Humanity's gift isn't just seeing through deception. It's understanding that knowledge, freely shared, builds bridges instead of weapons. Her mysterious ally sent one final message. "The choice is made. The future begins." We could dismantle the council, Kate announced, watching as information continued to flow. Strip you of power, impose the same sanctions you used against others. She paused, letting the possibility of vengeance hang in the air. Or we could do something unprecedented. Forgive. The chamber fell silent. Not because you deserve it, she continued, but because moving forward matters more than looking back. Because humanity has learned that the best way to overcome darkness is to shine light on it. The High Speaker's armor gradually unlocked as the machine recognized the shift in power. You would trust us, after everything we did. Trust. Kate smiled. No, but we'll give you the chance to earn it. The same chance every species deserves. She gestured at the flowing data streams. Knowledge freely shared. Power openly discussed. A galaxy where cooperation replaces control. The truth resonance fields pulsed with the weight of her words, marking them as both promise and prophecy. The ancient machine hummed with approval, its original purpose finally restored. The choice, Kate declared, isn't between destruction and preservation. It's between fear and growth, between hiding truth and sharing it. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every species present. So, shall we begin? 1 month after the Council's transformation, Kate stood in the redesigned chamber, watching species that had once been bitter enemies working together at knowledge-sharing stations. The crystalline walls now pulsed with constant data streams, the ancient machine's true purpose fully restored. Her neural implant pinged with a familiar alien signature. You succeeded beyond our expectations. Kate smiled, finally ready to address the mysterious ally who had guided her through the confrontation. I believe it's time we met properly, she said aloud. The air shimmered near the quantum core's main interface, and a form materialized. Not holographic, but not quite physical either. The beam's appearance shifted between crystalline and energy patterns, somehow familiar and alien at once. You're one of the original builders, Kate said, recognizing patterns that matched the oldest data streams. You've been waiting all this time. The beam's form stabilized into something roughly humanoid. We scattered ourselves through the network, watching, waiting for a species that could understand without being told, that could see truth beneath deception. Around them, the chamber hummed with activity. The Arthaxians had become master archivists, their crystalline bodies perfectly suited for data storage and transmission. The Voltaxians, freed from their role as enforcers, had turned their ceremonial armor into interfaces for accessing the deepest parts of the knowledge network. The human phrase that started all this, Kate said, watching as a group of younger species collaborated on decoding ancient star charts. You knew it would trigger the truth resonance fields. We knew humanity's gift for naming unspoken truths would be key, the being corrected. The specific phrase mattered less than the understanding behind it. Your species sees patterns not just in data, but in behavior, in motivation, in the gap between what is said and what is true. High Speaker Xoln approached, his armor now gleaming with the blue-white colors of the knowledge-sharing initiative. His secondary eyes had softened from their previous perpetual suspicion. Ambassador Miller, he said, performing the new greeting gesture that combined human handshakes with traditional council acknowledgement. The Proxian databases have been fully integrated. Their historical records are restoring themselves. Kate nodded, remembering how the Proxians had been one of the first species to face council sanctions. And their colonies. The quarantine fields are down. Xoln confirmed. Their civilization is rebuilding. Like many others. The beam's form rippled with approval. Redemption through truth. Very human. Kate's neural implant displayed the latest statistics. 17 formerly suppressed species had restored their lost knowledge. 32 new connections in the galaxy-wide network had been discovered. And most importantly, the truth resonance fields now extended to every diplomatic gathering, making deception impossible in matters of galactic governance. There will be challenges, the being warned. Knowledge brings responsibility. Some will resist change. Let them, Kate said, watching as a Mycerian delegation shared ancient navigation techniques with former council enforcers. Resistance just shows us where we need to shine more light. Her words rippled through the chamber's acoustics, and several species looked up, recognizing the truth in them. The human gift for insight had become a cornerstone of the new galactic order. Your true discovery wasn't the network, the being said, its form beginning to fade. It was understanding that truth, freely shared, builds stronger bonds than power ever could. As the being disappeared, Kate's neural implant received one final message. Watch for us in the deep void. Humanity is ready for the next level of knowledge. The chamber's main display activated, showing a real-time map of the galaxy. Points of light marked every location where species were connecting, sharing, growing. The council chamber, once a seat of control and suppression, had become exactly what its builders intended: a nexus of understanding. Ambassador, High Speaker Soln said, his voice carrying new humility, the human delegation has a saying they want to add to the chamber's foundation protocols. Something about protesting too much. Kate smiled, watching as Shakespeare's words were encoded into the galaxy's diplomatic foundations. A simple human observation about truth and deception had shattered an empire of lies. But more importantly, it had built something better in its place. You know, she said, I think humanity's just getting started.